I'm off to the dinosaur exhibit alone. It's really expensive, so that's why I'm going alone. I entered the museum and they had this video playing that I wasn't allowed to take a video of. So instead I just photographed the first dinosaurs I saw. What really caught me about this dinosaur was, you see in that little picture down there that it doesn't look like he has crazy fangs like you can see here? I thought he really didn't. These are fossils of the prehistoric plants. Some of them you can't see the plants very well in, but others are kind of fascinating. To imagine the prehistoric underbrush. Like in this one, I'm not really sure what we're supposed to be able to see in here. These are actually the stems of plants. They're not rocks that are round that look like they should have plants in them. They're really the stems. This was the first flower I ran across, and it kind of just looks like a leaf, but I remember that prehistoric flowers were made out of leaves. I think this exhibit was here to prove that we don't actually find dinosaurs standing up in perfect positions in the ground. We find them in fossils laying down the way they died. Look at the tiny thermopod. It's so little. Such a little guy. With thermopods. I walked through the big, rib cage hallway into the evolution of the modern birds exhibit. And I was quite amazed with the evolution of it and the fact that it really turned out to look like a goose in the end. This guy actually was the only one who had webs like a bat between his fingers and his body. I found that quite interesting. The Microraptor was a little long for one picture, so I had to take a picture of his tail. This is a diagram of how bats and flying squirrels use their membranes to fly, and that it proved that membranes weren't exactly the best way to fly for birds, so they just went back to feathers. When I came across this one, I was like, it's a bird. It really looks like a bird. Yeah, they're talking about the evolution of modern birds. This is the first modern-ish birds. It's really amazing to see how they got there. Doesn't this guy look like a goose with teeth? On the other side of the room, there was these microscopes that were aimed at ambers, and I couldn't take a picture of the microscopes because that would be unhelpful. So I was glad to see that they put the magnified images up on the wall for me to photograph. It's a dinosaur feather. Wow. In the big dinosaur room. Tip of his tail. The tip of his nose. They had these images up on the wall of where they think the Spinosaurus actually lived. They think he was a swimming dinosaur who mainly ate fish, which is why his teeth are not serrated like the T-Rex. And this is the Spinosaurus. He is like 3 meters longer than the T-Rex. And they think he swam. They had this extra exhibit of his skull with a mirror under it so you could see how they found it with most of the teeth missing. I took a picture of his back feet so you can imagine the webbing between them as he swam. They had this fish hanging in the corner so you could really feel the underwaterness of the area. Here are some fish which the Spinosaurus would have been eating. And then they had some like Stegosaurus type displays, probably to enunciate what they thought the Spinosaurus and the Stegosaurus used their spines for. They had the display of the Spinosaurus and T-Rex teeth next to each other, so you could see the Spinosaurus had longer teeth, but that the T-Rex had serrated teeth. Here was a display of a partial skeleton and how they use computers to kind of guesstimate what the dinosaur would actually look like from its partial skeleton. I'm really not sure what this is here for, but that blue sign I didn't take a picture of is of the Japanese children who found this fossil. I went to the next room where they had a baby Chasmosaurus and my favorite dinosaur. I thought their computer image of him was so adorable. They put the adult jaw next to it to show you how much more growing this guy had to do before he died and became a fossil for us. Here is the adult of this dinosaur. I had to take multiple photos because the place was packed. It was very hard to video this kind of stuff with all those people in the way. And here's their computer image of my favorite dinosaur, the Pharaocephalosaurus, and the fossil they found of it. Look how little his skull was, and he didn't even have a horn yet. By horn, I meant resonating chamber. You see that big horn off the top of their head? It's resonating chamber so they can make weird noises at each other, which are displayed later on in the exhibit. Here is their adult of this dinosaur. I went into the next room where they had the exhibit of this guy. He was the first dinosaur found with feathers, scales, and quills. the different little pieces they found this guy in. And they set him out for us on a plaque so we could see how they found him. So many little pieces. And some of these, you should be able to see that he had feathers. And scaling like a bird, modern day. Like most of the dinosaurs I tried to take pictures of, he was too long, and I had to take 2 pictures. I made a little taxidermy of him so you could see that he had quills, scales, and feathers. I made a little thing where you touch him, he makes a noise, and the bigger one makes a noise. It's like a baby to mama response. And here they showed us how they managed to put this together to see what the baby would sound like, and then what the mother would sound like, without having like an actual horn you can blow into. In this section they're talking about how they find dinosaurs and bring them to us. They actually have a guy here working on splitting what is the dinosaur from the bones. I'm pretty sure this is talking about ancient oceans. Here's an excavation site. And there is the tools they use to dig them out from the ground. This is how they transport them back to a safe place where they can find out exactly what they found. Here's that man I mentioned, hard at work.